New Year has gotten off to a rather tragic and concerning start for Americans, with multiple attacks rocking United States of America one after the other. It all began with ISIS-linked Shamsuddin Jabbar killing 15 people and injuring several others by ramming a truck into them at the Bourbon Street in New Orleans. Las Vegas saw an explosive-laden Tesla Cybertruck exploding outside the Trump Towers. The driver, Matthew Livelsberger, was killed and 7 people were hurt. And the third attack was a mass shooting which happened at the Amazura nightclub at Queens, with 11 people being shot at. Both Shamsu Jabbar and Matthew Livelsberg were U.S. Army veterans, and that is a huge concern for the FBI. And the fact that these attacks come just days ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration on the 20th of January makes it all the more of a big concern. Earlier on Global Mirror, I spoke on the situation with former CIA officer Glenn Carle and political analyst Dr. Mark Merowitz. Take a listen. You know, there is a lot of speculation about whether these attacks are coordinated or just a coincidence. Mass shootings are unfortunately commonplace in America, but what about the attack that had, Jabbar ramming a truck into lots of people who were gathered to ring in 2025, and of course the Tesla Cybertruck explosion? Do you see this as two linked incidents?
Well, we don't know the facts, of course, yet, and we may not for some time as the FBI, CIA, and others begin their investigations. But I think the likelihood is that they are not coordinated. The general phenomenon, and in all generalities, you will have exceptions, of course, of terrorism in recent years, and in fact for 25 years, but especially in the last decade, has been that ISIS, the most threatening coherent group, has largely been so disrupted, if not completely destroyed, that it's not able to project coherent planned attacks like this. However, what has occurred worldwide is what sometimes are referred to as lone wolf or inspired, motivated individuals who identify with the grievances that are expressed by radical Islam and ISIS in particular, and then decide to act for that ideal. And they come to their beliefs through social media and all of the media that all of us have access to. That appears to be the case here, but we don't know. That does generally characterize the terrorist attacks globally committed by, quote, radical Islamists.
Yeah. Dr. Mark Merowitz, therefore, the kind of attacks that we've seen, this, lone wolf, suspected lone wolf ISIS agent attack that we are seeing, and as Glenn Carle was saying, that these are attempts to, send out a message, try and sort of implement what the person has in his or her mind. Do you also connect this with the upcoming inauguration of Donald Trump? Do you see any link of that, trying to send out a message ahead of that?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for including me, but I will take some disagreement with my distinguished colleague, Mr. Carle. First of all, is it a coincidence that both attackers used the same website, Turo, to rent the vehicles that they used in the attacks? Does one have to be a nuclear scientist to understand that? Furthermore, as far as what we're looking at right here, we have a I don't know, lone wolf, the FBI agent who got up and said within 5 minutes that it was not a terrorist attack, is one of the extraordinary failures of communication in American history. Why say that right away? How do we know it's a lone wolf? In terms of the connections, whether it's directly connected or not, it's clear that it is part of some sort of an active terrorist attack. And in fact, the attackers, the FBI believes now certainly in New Orleans, there was more than one person. What we're seeing is an international event of momentous significance And everything, as they say in politics, is connected. In terms of the inauguration, yes, it is not a coincidence that the attacker in Vegas attacked the Trump Hotel with a Tesla vehicle, which is a Musk product, after Biden is leaving now and Trump is coming in. There is no coincidence in these events. Did some one mastermind think of it? Well, somebody thought of that. And furthermore, lastly, I would say, they were very clever because the New Orleans authorities took away the barriers to protect Bourbon Street in November and left a few little barriers, orange barriers there. And this attacker knew to go around the police car and to go past this useless police car, which was there, and attack these poor people. Where in the world were our authorities, where our leaders, the FBI, Homeland Security? And again, he was posting on social media, the New Orleans attacker, about what he was thinking about and what he was going to do. So where is our government? Biden, FBI, Homeland Security. Now they're trying to figure it out. Really? I mean, it's a little too late. They better figure out what to do right now to prevent that. Lastly, I'm sorry to go on, the Sugar Bowl. Letting the Sugar Bowl go on, yes, I understand that we want to live a normal life in terrorism. But before we figure this one out, we're going to put people, thousands of people, in a big Superdome and have a big ball game? Is it so important to have sports on the day after New Year's, after these poor people were killed, that they must do it? I have to say, as a college professor, I'm also a lawyer, I give our leaders a grade of F, failure to protect the American people. And I'm hoping they're going to start doing that right away. I'm sorry to be pessimistic, but I must be realistic that our institutions have failed us. That's what I feel. I'm very, very upset about
let me take
these
this
events.
across to Glenn Carle, Dr. Merowitz. Yes, Glenn Carle, do you want to come in on this? There are indeed questions being raised on the FBI. You had the New Orleans police say, this was an act of terror. Then you had the FBI contradicting that very statement in its initial probe, saying that it's not a terrorism act. Then they came out with a final statement where they said that they're probing this as an act of terrorism. Clearly, raising a lot of questions on the investigative agencies there.
Yes, our colleague makes some points I agree with, not all, but some. I think the coincidence of the truck rental venue is certainly of note and needs to be pursued. That's true, and I don't think it should surprise anyone, although it should be noted by the authorities definitely that these events have involved, as our colleague pointed out, a Tesla product, a Trump hotel, the date shortly prior to the inauguration. All those things are significant or potentially significant. At least they are noteworthy. It's too early, however, to say that we know that there's a coherent web and a mastermind behind this. There may be. More typically, what these attacks are these inspired, and I use the word guardedly, individuals who think that they're striking a blow against injustice and racism and all of their frankly cockamamie series of logical reasonings. That it isn't Islamically inspired, radically so. That seems quite clear, I think, at least with the New Orleans attack. Beyond that, I think it's a bit harsh to instantaneously condemn the authorities. Certainly, they should be considering the advantages and dangers of holding a mass event right away. However, the last thing I'll note for the moment is all of us, whether we're officials or observers, as we are all talking right now, have an instinctive reflex after a catastrophe. Once the crocodile grabs the water buffalo in the water hole, all of us run away from the edge of the water because we think we might be eaten too. When in fact the danger is not necessarily, and statistically tends not to be, greater after the event than before. But an authority's job is to look at the risks and to weigh this. And at present, we certainly do not know, and it's too early to reach a conclusion on that point.
All right, since we're talking about the United States of America, let's get to what Elon Musk is up to. UK has become the latest country this week where Elon Musk is aiming to call the shots, or at least it seems so. Elon endorsed far-right Reform UK Party as the only savior of Britain and repeatedly attacked Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying that UK was on the verge of a civil war amid massive anti-immigration protests. He also criticized the Starmer government as a political state. This, remember, comes after he supported the AfD in Germany. Elon called it the last hope for Germans and praised AfD leader Alice Weidele's same-sex relationship. Now, this endorsement by Elon led many German leaders to call out the billionaire for election meddling. All right, updates from Bangladesh now. ISKCON monk Chinmoy Das was denied bail in the sedition case against him. His lawyer termed the order as concocted and said they will appeal in a higher court. The Indian government, meanwhile, once again urged for a free and fair trial for the Hindu minority monk. Meanwhile, in what seems to be the rewriting of history in the conflict-ridden country, the Yunus administration has decided to eliminate what it calls any exaggerated historical information or unnecessary glorification of individuals from textbooks for the upcoming academic year. The new textbooks for primary and secondary students will now state that Zia-ur-Rahman, the sixth president of the country, and not Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, declared the independence of Bangladesh in 1971. Awami League supporters, remember, believed that Sheikh Mujibur Rahman declared independence, with Zia-ur-Rahman reading it on his instructions. Bangladesh Nationalist Party supporters, however, claim that their founder, Zia-ur-Rahman, made the declaration himself. All right, shifting our focus to South Korea now, where uncertainty prevails. Even a large group of 150 officers could not arrest Yoon Suk-yeol, the impeached president of South Korea. As soon as the police reached his residence, they were countered by a large number of pro-Yoon supporters who had gathered outside before sunrise, and then by a human wall of security staff inside the property. The police were trying to carry out an arrest warrant issued earlier this week after Yoon ignored 3 summons for him to appear for questioning. However, authorities were eventually forced to suspend their attempt and withdraw after they failed to reach even the inside of the residence of Yeol. Now, South Korea has banned Jeju Air CEO Kim Il-bae from leaving the country amid an investigation into the deadliest ever air disaster on South Korean soil. This move came as aviation authorities stepped up their probe into the cause of the deadly crash of Jeju Air Flight 2216, which killed 179 of 181 people on board, with the police issuing a statement saying that they plan to swiftly and rigorously determine the cause and responsibility for this accident. With that, let's shift our focus back home. The Indian Space Research Organization is all set to script history in the new year, with its 100th rocket launch marking a significant milestone in India's space journey. The milestone will be commemorated with the launch of NVS-02 satellite carried by GSLV from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. This comes after the completion of ISRO's PSLV-C60 mission, which was the 99th rocket launch from Sriharikota in December 2024. This year, ISRO and Indian space sector is also going to undertake their ambitious Gaganyaan mission. All right, with that, it's a wrap on Global Mirror. News and updates continue on Mirror Now. Thank you very much for joining us at the moment. Bye-bye.